Welcome to the introduction to column charts. Column charts are one of the most common ways of presenting data. Now, why are they effective? Let's do a simple, quick experiment. I'm going to show you some data in a table for just 3 seconds and I'll take the data away. The data is going to be around the department and how many employees are there in each department. So after the 3 seconds, I will ask you some questions. So your 3 seconds starts now. Okay, so for example, if you want to know which department has the most number of employees or the least number of employees, is that something that you can easily remember by looking at the data for only 3 seconds? For most people, it is difficult, and that's okay. So let's see this data in a visual format, a column chart visual, and we'll use again 3 seconds. So that went by pretty quickly too. So when people look at the column charts, they're able to process the data faster than looking at a table of numbers. Okay. So for many people, it would be easier to interpret the column charts faster than a table of numbers. So let me put both of them back. And the reason is it's because our brain is able to process certain attributes faster than others. For example, the height of the column, in this case, that represents the column height, the value for each of these departments, that can be interpreted by our brain faster than looking through all these 2-digit numbers. It is generally documented that the length of an object is one of those pre-attentive attributes. There are many others. For example, the color. Some people are able to distinguish color faster. Some of the other attributes are shape of the object, positioning of the objects, orientation of the objects, size, color, and so on. So these attributes can be used when we present the data because it will help the audience of the visual understand the data faster and be able to take insights from the visual quickly. Ultimately, that is what we are after. We want to present the data so that the user can quickly understand without any confusion on what they are looking at. And so for that purpose, a column chart can be effective compared to tables in most cases. Now, what are the key components of a column chart? These are the three. So we have a y-axis, which represents the numeric values here, the number of employees. The x-axis represents the category axis, which represents here the departments. And the other important attribute is the height of the column. And this is the most basic column chart. We'll be talking a little bit more about some advanced, but for the most basic one, the column height and y-axis and x-axis are the three attributes that we need to know. The column height represents the proportional. For example, the finance department has 14 employees, and then the sales department has 28. You can see that the height of the sales department column is roughly twice, and that's because it's twice the number of employees. So not only the column height represents each of the department's number of employees, but also they are proportional, which means that the sales, which is twice in height compared to the finance. So this is basic understanding of a simple column chart. Now, where can you use this? I'm going to walk you through some scenarios or use cases where column charts can be used in its simplest form or in slightly more advanced form, as we can do a lot more things. And I'm going to talk about this with the context of Microsoft Excel, which we can use to create these charts, but generally it applies to any application that you may use to create column charts. So the first one is just a simple comparison. I can compare, as we saw in the previous example, how many employees are in each department. So it's basically we are comparing a metric, which is the number of employees, across a category, which is nothing but a department in this case. So very simple comparison. Look at the chart on the right. This one does the same, but it also adds one more dimension, which is year. So I can not only compare the number of departments, which is in gray color, from IT to sales in 2021, I can also do the blue color columns, which help me compare in 2022 between IT and sales. So now you're introducing not just two dimensions, we're now introducing department, year, and the measure is the number of employees. So we can take this to expand on the use case of comparison when it comes to column chart. And also we can be more creative and present the same data instead of the boring column chart, because it gets boring after we see that again and again. So we can do some creative things like presenting them in a matchstick chart format or lollipop chart format. The interpretation is the same, but then you can engage with your audience better when you are presenting the same information in different creative ways. The next use case I want to talk about is benchmark. So if you have actuals versus target, for example, each department may have different target that you want to compare with. So I can show the columns as actuals, and then I can show a little, horizontal line for target. So this is where you can take the column chart and make it something, more, which is to compare against target. I can even use the second approach where column within a column to show actual versus target. And then it doesn't have to be, a single target value or multiple target values for, one target value for each department, but you can even go beyond that. So the bullet chart allows you to give a context for your comparison. For example, where is my good performance range? Where is my average performance range? So I can see where my actual and the targets are compared to this context, which is good, average, poor performance. So this is a very common chart once again, but it's a form of column chart too, the bullet chart. Now let's move on to the third type of use case, is highlights. As I said at the beginning, the height of the column is one attribute that we are using, but the color of the column can also be used to create a story. So in this case, in all these cases, we are coloring the columns in blue where they have met a certain criteria. If the department has achieved its target, we want to color in blue, otherwise leave it gray. So this is how we can tell a story to your audience using colors within the column charts. Now let's move on to deviation. This is kind of an extension of the benchmarking where we compare from actual to target values, but we can also show the variance or the deviation of the actual from the target. So we can present the percentage change from the forecast or target or budget. We can also do the absolute number change, and these can be presented as they are, or we can use some creative techniques to show arrows to show whether it's it's decreasing or it's below the forecast. You can do year-over-year comparison and show whether it has increased from the previous year to this year. So all of these things are comparison, but we want to show the direction of the change or the deviation in a creative way. So there are many types of charts that can be used to show this attribute. Next is distribution. Distribution of the data can be shown with many different charts, but using column charts, we can also show, for example, take the middle one. This is a floating column chart, which shows the minimum and the maximum temperature, average minimum and average maximum temperature for each month for a city. And we can show that using a floating column charts because it's a column, but it looks like it's floating in the air. And we can also take the same approach to show more creative ways of using the dumbbell shape to represent the same data. Again, it's the same information, however you present it differently to engage the audience better. Then we have trends. Usually the line charts are associated with trends, which makes sense. However, there are some exceptions where if your x-axis is a time dimension, like a date or a month or a year, you could use column chart to represent it. And that's what I've done in the chart on the left. So number of employees every month shown in the column chart. You could also combine the column chart with the line chart, which means the combination chart, where appropriate, where the data is time series data, you could do that. Then we go to the last use case for today, which is composition. So let's take the chart in the middle. When you have 90 employees in the HR department, but you also want to show where they are located, this is one way to show how the 90 employees are distributed within HR. So in this case, I will say 21 are in the east location, 23 are in west. So it basically breaks down the composition of all the HR employees into buckets. And that is where a stacked column chart can be effective. We can also look at the common visual that you see across, which is a waterfall chart, where you can say the number of employees at the beginning is 100 of the year. They end up with 95 at the end of the year is a projection now. What are the different components that make up this difference? It could be a positive increasing component or a negative decrease, and we can show them very effectively using the waterfall chart here. Now, how can you create these? At inzara.com, we provide several solutions around data visualization. The first one, we have detailed blog posts or articles explaining how to create each of these charts step by step. We also have video demos of me building these charts step by step from scratch, so you can see how it is built and build it yourself. And then we also have a template, which is called the Instant Chart Maker template, where we have all these charts readily built. You can enter your own data and immediately get these charts built instantly. So those are some of the solutions we have. If you have any questions, if you need any assistance, if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comment section of the video. We look forward to hearing from you. If you want to reach out to us by email, please contact support@inzara.com. We will be happy to respond to you as quickly as we can. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon in the next video.